We are a generous and welcoming people here in the United States, but those who enter the country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law, and they are showing disregard for those who are following the law. We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully to become immigrants in this country.
Okay, well, here's the problem, and this is really the problem with President Obama. You're going to see this repeated throughout his little speech that he gave yesterday in Nevada. Everything he accuses the right of doing, he actually did while he was in office. He says things like you're not supposed to influence the FBI, you're not supposed to influence your attorney general. His own attorney general, Eric Holder, called himself Barack Obama's wingman. That was Eric Holder, his own DOJ head, calling himself the president's wingman. The president is asserted executive privilege to protect Eric Holder from a Republican Congress over the Fast and Furious scandal. So this is just nonsense. And when the president says that you're not supposed to activate executive agencies to target political opponents, that's exactly what his IRS did. His IRS targeted conservative 501c3s, pro-Israel 501c3s. The evidence was extraordinarily solid in that case. The DOJ didn't do a serious investigation, nor did they prosecute anybody. So when the president says that President Trump is doing all this stuff, when Obama says that Trump is doing all of this stuff, just remember, President Trump is a reaction to President Obama. And the more you look at American history and history in general, what you really do see is that the nature of the human being is to swing from side to side, that we react to things that happen in our life. And we usually overreact to things that happen in our life. So we react to President Bush by putting in President Obama, then react to President Obama by putting in President Trump. But the pendulum, in order for it to start swinging less wildly, it takes a force of collective will. It takes all of us saying to each other, we are not going to allow this pendulum to swing quite as wildly as it has been in the past. If you look at the vacillations between the presidencies right now, I would say that if you looked back in the 1960s, like the difference between, say, LBJ and Richard Nixon on policy, what you were looking at was a vacillation that was semi-major but not enormous. Right? The swing of the pendulum was not quite as far. The same thing is true with Eisenhower and JFK. The swing of the pendulum was not quite that far. If you look at how far the pendulum is swinging now, it's almost at 180 degrees. I mean, the pendulum is swinging wildly side to side. And that's dangerous for the country because eventually the pendulum is going to swing over the bar and things are going to get really insane. President Obama did not help that. This revisionist history where President Obama was a great peace bringer, this revisionist history where President Obama did not create conflict inside the United States, where he was a unifying figure as opposed to a polarizing figure, that is just a lie. When he was elected, maybe he was a unifying figure for 5 minutes, and then he proceeded to govern as an extraordinarily far-left guy, and then he also proceeded to polarize the country along ethnic, racial, and sexual lines. It's obvious that he's doing this. He trolled the right into insanity, and now President Trump is trolling the left into insanity. This is all reactionary stuff. Here's President Obama. Again, he's such a troll. He's such a troll. When people accuse President Trump of being a troll, I'd like to remind folks, the first presidential troll was Barack Obama. Here's President Obama trolling people in Nevada yesterday, saying that he was very committed to the truth as president of the United States.
Here's just one simple fact. This is a fact. This is not, unlike some, I actually try to state facts. I believe in facts, right? I believe in a fact-based reality and a fact-based politics.
Okay, that is just a lie. He did not believe in a fact-based reality, a fact-based politics. It's just not true. And he says that he didn't lie, he didn't like to fib like some people. Really? How about if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor? How about if the president doesn't have authority to grant executive amnesty? How about those men died in Benghazi because of a YouTube video? How about the Iran deal is being pursued because of a new moderate policy pushed by the new Iranian moderate administration?
Well, the massive migrant caravan headed for our southern border from Honduras is getting more massive by the day. Reportedly, it has swelled to 14,000 people. Despite the hundreds of millions of dollars that American taxpayers hand out to Central American countries and Mexico, no government in the region seems interested at all in stopping the migrants as they move toward Texas. Once they arrive in Texas, across the Rio Grande River, the group will inevitably be met by left-wing lawyers who specialize in manipulating our dysfunctional immigration system, and they are all but ensured permanent residency in this country if history is any guide. And that, of course, is the main reason so many of them are coming now. One of our major political parties strongly supports all of this. That's not speculation. They say it out loud often. Watch.
We are a country that our strength has always been that we are a tolerant country, that we are welcoming, in particular, of those who have fled harm.
People of Central America, many are at risk. If they qualify for asylum, we believe there should be a process in which that case can be heard in a fair manner, protecting the individuals.
What's the Democratic Party's message about the Caravan?
We are a nation of laws, and the laws that are on the books deal with issues of refugee and asylum status. And our laws require that people be treated with dignity and given that process.
A nation of laws that must be ignored. Disagree with any of that, by the way? Do you think nations need borders in order to be nations? Did you imagine that as an American citizen, you should have some voice in who comes into our country? The cable news geniuses have a message for you. Shut up, racist.
It gets Trump's nativist base very, very excited every day, and they look at these people as less than human. They believe that those folks are less than human, and they believe that they don't deserve asylum. They believe that, you know, the kids in cages was a net benefit for this country.
Donald Trump wants you to know that he hates the same people you hate. If you hate Muslims, if you hate black people, if you hate anyone who lives south of the Rio Grande.
Rick Wilson, for the record, maybe the dumbest person ever to appear on television. Chris Kobach, meanwhile, is a Republican. He's running for governor of Kansas. He does believe in borders, and he joins us tonight. So thanks very much for coming on. I think most people, when thinking about immigration, have thought in terms of barriers. How do you strengthen the border? But this appears to be, this caravan, a perfect example of what's actually happening, which is people who have no right to be here leveraging our legal system against us, something that border walls can't stop.
That's exactly right, Tucker. You know, what I think they're attempting to do is you're right, as you said in the intro, they're going to be met by all kinds of liberal lawyers, and they're going to try to claim asylum. And the thing is, they have no basis whatsoever for claiming asylum. They do not face persecution by the government in their home countries, which is the essence of asylum. But because they, under our laws, at least get a hearing, a credible fear hearing, and we don't have enough detention beds to detain 14,000 people while they get those hearings, many of them probably will be let go with a slip saying, please come back on such and such a day, and they won't come back, or they may try to come back and try to fake it through the hearing. But it is absurd how they are abusing our asylum system, abusing our laws, and they are aided and abetted by the American left.
Well, so it's a little disingenuous because they can't be held, because then it would be you're holding human beings in pens like animals, you racist. They can't be returned into Mexico because they're not Mexican nationals. They're from Central America. And so we don't have a choice under the rules written by the people complaining that we're inhumane to do anything but let them free. And so basically they're subverting our law with the assistance of people who solemn face are telling us we just want to obey the law. I mean, it's like Orwellian. Yeah, it is Orwellian. And you know, you mentioned earlier the Democrats and how they're talking about this. Let's just think about this. In the 90s, this is like the third stage of open border psychosis. In the 90s, the Democrats wanted to enforce the law. Bill Clinton signed the Illegal Immigration Reform Act, which is all about enforcement. Then in the 2000s, they were like, okay, now we want amnesty. We're not for enforcing the law, we want amnesty. But now in 2018, they're going beyond that, and they're saying, we want to bring in more illegal aliens. We're not content with the millions here already. We're for bringing people in from outside of the country who have no basis for coming to the United States. At some point, doesn't this raise questions about what democracy is? I mean, if every poll for 50 years demonstrates that most Americans of both parties want real borders, they want to have a say in who comes and lives here and benefits from our society, and consistently they have no voice at all, then what do you start to wonder about democracy? Maybe it's fake.
You know, it's quite clear that the political left in America is not listening to what the people are saying. And you're absolutely right. The polls constantly show that Americans don't want to be giving taxpayer benefits to illegal aliens. They don't want sanctuary cities. We have been rewarding illegal immigration against the will of the American people for too long. This is a problem we can solve. If you want to stop illegal immigration, stop rewarding illegal immigration. That's one of the most important reasons why I'm running for governor in Kansas. But the political left doesn't want to do that.
And if you want to keep people tolerant and pro-immigrant, then let them decide who gets to come here. I mean, what they're doing is making people who are basically for immigration anti-immigration, because it's so unreasonable that reasonable people are getting disgusted. I mean, anyway, Chris Kobach, thank you for being a consistent and clear voice on this issue. I appreciate it.